Hey YouTube, it's Nora. Today I want to film a bit of a different video for you guys. It's going to be a more formal video, less of a vlog, but has nothing to do with concerts or college. So for those who don't know, I, at the age of 3, was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And ulcerative colitis is an inflammatory bowel disease that has to do with your colon, where your body pretty much attacks itself. I'm not going to go into complete depths with it because I'm going to do another whole video on that, but I want to tell you guys about my journey with the disease. I'm going to begin with how I was diagnosed. So I was diagnosed at the age of 3, but I was a colicky baby since birth. I had a lot of stomach troubles. I was having a lot of arthritis issues by the time my colitis was in full flare at the age of 3. I would have to use the wall to walk at daycare because I was in so much pain. I was pretty much just pooping straight out blood, which is disgusting, but that's the whole part of the disease. And I was also anemic. I was having restless leg syndrome, where you feel like you need to like move your legs but it just causes more pain. And it got to the point where no one really knew what was wrong with me. So my parents decided to bring me to the primary doctor. Obviously, they did it multiple times, but the doctor didn't really know what was wrong with me, like no one else had. So he decided to send me a specialist from my house an hour and a half away. So those familiar with the disease could probably guess I went to a gastroenterologist, and they figured that I probably had IBD, so they decided that they were going to do a colonoscopy on me with biopsies and look at the tissue to determine whether I really did have Crohn's or colitis, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And when you're diagnosed at first and you're very sick like I was, they put you on steroids to get rid of the inflammation. So I was put on prednisone, and I actually have some of the pills with me today to show you guys the sizes of them and what they look like. So this is a prednisone one. It's a very tiny pill, very bad side effects, but does real wonders if you're really that sick. So that's that. Like I said, very tiny. And you're also supposed to be put on maintenance med, which is just the regular med you take every day to either prevent the colitis from flaring or keep it at bay. And I was put on sulfasalazine. There's 4 or 5 groups of medications, and sulfasalazine is like the first primary one. They're called the 5 ASAs. But besides that, because I was also anemic, I was put on iron, which I've been on ever since. Oh, it's over here. Iron is just in a capsule, the one that I currently take. And it looks like that. And to help the colitis also, besides the prednisone and the sulfasalazine, my parents have always had me on probiotics, and the first one that I tried when I was that young was Ulcerative. And it's right here. And it just comes in this box. They come in these sheets of little capsules. They look just like the iron. You just pop them out like this. And that's a Ulcerative. Again, just a little gel capsule. And besides that, sorry, I have my notes off to the side. Oh, I was also put on Prevacid for acid reflux because I was spitting up a lot of like gunk and a lot of the heartburn. And I was also put on Flagyl. Now, I don't exactly know what Flagyl does, but I was so sick that they put me on it, and I can't really explain why, but I just was on it. The sulfasalazine kept me in remission until I was about the age of 9. I was in 3rd grade, and I began to flare again, so the doctors again were like, okay, we'll do a colonoscopy, see what's happening, see if the inflammation is really truly that bad. And I continued to be on the sulfa and the folic acid, which is for digestion, the iron, the probiotics, but we did also start Fluorostor, which is in this little bottle. And Fluorostor is just like Ulcerative. It comes in another tiny little gel capsule. I was again put back on the prednisone for the time being, just to get my body to go back into remission. And I also did a barium swallow test. And for those who don't know what a barium swallow test is, it's where you drink this disgusting stuff called barium, and they do this x-ray imaging where they can watch it go through your intestines to see if there's any blockages or strictures, which are narrowings, that would create another blockage. After continuing again with the sulfasalazine and going back into remission after the age of 9, I began to flare again right after I graduated 8th grade when I was 14. So I, this time, did a colonoscopy and endoscopy, where they not only go up through your rectum, they also go down through your mouth, 2 different scopes, just to make sure that I didn't have Crohn's. And they also did biopsies again with those. And I wasn't eating. I was pretty much just eating mints every day because I was so sick that when you eat, it obviously hurts because it's going through the inflamed colon. So I stopped eating, which was not good. I was again put back on the prednisone. I was taking the folic acid, the probiotics, the iron, the sulfasalazine, and that again put me into remission until I started high school my freshman year. And I was doing fine, and then all of a sudden I started getting really sick, but I wasn't getting colitis sick. I was getting complete extreme nausea, vomiting, pretty much just feeling so terrible. I almost puked a few times in class where my teacher saw me gag and in a nice way kicked me out because she didn't want me to puke everywhere and told me to go to the nurse. Before they knew it was the sulfasalazine that was making me sick, they had me on Zofran, which is nausea medication for people with chemo, because I literally could not get through the day without needing to go home due to the fact that I was so nauseous and couldn't function. So I, for a little bit, stopped taking my sulfasalazine because it was happening in the mornings, and that was when I was taking the 5 to 6 pills. And soon I realized that it was actually the sulfasalazine, and because you have an autoimmune disease, your body can create allergies. So my body had created an allergy or sensitivity, I guess you could say, to the sulfasalazine. So because of that, I was put through another colonoscopy endoscopy at the end of the year. I was taken off the sulfasalazine because I've been healthy since the age of 9, that they thought, you know, maybe she doesn't need a maintenance med. We'll see how it goes. Luckily, without any of the maintenance meds, I continued to stay healthy till my junior year, where I had another routine colonoscopy endoscopy, and that went fine. Sometimes you have a little inflammation, but it doesn't have any symptoms or affect you, which typically always occurs for me when I'm not flaring. And then by the end, like this happened January of my junior year, by February, April, I began to get really sick. I remember I went to Disney World with my friend and I was completely pooping myself. I couldn't function, but it was different than a flare. It was like my stomach either did or didn't hurt, but I was just constantly pooping. And I was not given a fecal test, which is where you poop in a hat and then they like test it to see if there's inflammation in it. They hadn't given me that for a while. They were just trying to put me on different meds. And it turned out that I had Campylobacter, which is E. coli's cousin. So because they were trying to treat colitis before they had actually done the test to find out it was Campylobacter, I had folic acid and probiotics and iron, like usual, but they also had put me on Rawasa mouth, like orally, and that's again another 5-ASA, and because I was having issues with the sulfasalazine, I again was very sick from the Rawasa. Did the same thing, made me nauseous, made me want to vomit everywhere. So they were like, maybe if you do an enema, which is medication that's in this like little bottle that you put up your rectum and you pretty much squeeze and it has like foam go into your colon. It's just a different way to get the medication into your system. They thought maybe that'll be fine. And I ended up missing my brother's graduation his senior year because I was so sick, because it made my stomach like, almost felt like my muscles were like seizing up and cramping up, and like I was just keeled over in a ball for like the whole time that my brother was at school doing his whole graduation, which sucked. And they also tried to put me on Lialda, same thing, same group. They had put me, this is Lialda, on these huge horse pills. They're just like kind of brick colored and they're ginormous. And I had the same exact reaction, extreme nausea again, and I was like, I don't want to take the 5-ASAs anymore. I obviously cannot deal with them. My body cannot just do it. So after that was when they finally found out it was Campylobacter. The ASAs weren't going to work anyway. I was put on Zithromax for obviously the antibiotic to get rid of the Campylobacter, and to fix the fact that I was probably going to go into a flare, I was put on cortifoam, which is just like enemas, except it's a foam that comes in a cartridge that's the applicator pretty much to it. After going through that little upset with the Campylobacter, I was good until about my senior year, when around February, started to get like really constipated, which is kind of strange because typically it's Crohn's patients that get constipated, not colitis. My mom had a little freak out where she was like, oh my god, baby, you have Crohn's, like she typically does when I have anything that's not specifically a colitis symptom. But I did not have Crohn's, obviously. It was just that I, again, was constipated. But because I was constipated, I wouldn't get hungry and I wouldn't eat. So I was put on a med called dicyclamine. And it pretty much, when you slept, you take it at night, you sleep, it like stretches the muscles of the stomach and it makes you hungry in the morning. I was fine until my freshman year. I just got my wisdom teeth out, and the antibiotics, if you have IBD, sometimes mess with your colon. And my colon got out of whack because of that. And I wasn't completely flaring, but I think I was starting to smolderly flare. And I got a cold. And when you get a cold, you typically go into flare because it revs up your immune system and it revs up your colon. So because I began to flare after that, I did not just go into like a smoldering flare after that cold. I went to complete flare, which I had not been in for the longest time. So I had to do another colonoscopy, endoscopy, and they found that same parts of my colon were inflamed again, the whole left side and the ileum. I was still on the folic acid, like I said, the probiotics, the iron. I was not on a maintenance med, but to put me in remission, they put me back on the prednisone, and we decided that maybe it was time that I go back on a maintenance med just to keep it at bay while I was at college. So they tried to put me on an immunomodulator because I did not want to do the 5 ASAs. So I was put on my captopril, and it worked. It worked really well. I did not have any side effects except I started getting really hot at night. And I was like, right before I sleep, my body would like feel like it was on fire to the point where I just couldn't sleep. It would happen also in the middle of the day. It's like I would dress for it to be like 10 degrees. I would dress for it to be 10 degrees colder than it actually was. And I would still feel like I was on fire in class. So I was taken off the immunomodulator, and now I am currently on a Colazole, which is an ASA. And I was like, well, it was either go back to the ASAs, or she was like, you're not sick enough to go on Remicade, which is biologic. So I was like, okay, I'll do the Colazole, and luckily it's working for me. This is what the Colazole looks like. I have to take 2 and 3 or 3 and 3. I have to take 6, so 3 and 3. I have to take them in the morning and night, and they are big horse pills again, like the rest of the 5 ASAs. It's a bigger capsule, and luckily it's working for me. I'm not having a reaction to it. I don't know why. All the other ASAs had a reaction with me, but this one is currently working. So that is where I am at right now. I'm still healthy. Let's keep it that way. I have not had any surgeries, unlike most people who have IBD, luckily, knock on wood. And that's pretty much my story so far. I just wanted to share that with you guys. For anyone who's newly diagnosed, likes to watch these videos, I know I love to watch these videos, but there's not many ones that are just specifically colitis. They're mostly Crohn's. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions about IBD, the medication, if you guys just want to leave a comment and be like, hey, I really like this video, I'm newly diagnosed and it helped me, just leave it down below. Leave it down below, and I'll get back to you guys really quickly.